Hello, everyone. Welcome to Bartelle's Money Talk. And today we have Morgan Anderson with us. We invited her back again because it was phenomenal, our first conversation. And she's going to be here with us today talking about taxes. Morgan, welcome back.
Theresa, thank you so much for inviting me back. I know when most people hear the word taxes, their eyes start glazing over. But if you listen to our first podcast together, oh my gosh, we shared so much amazing information. And I know taxes is one of those things that none of us like to pay attention to, but it's a necessary evil. And I just want to help all of you get a step ahead, at least one, maybe three or four when it comes to dealing with your taxes. So it is an honor to be here. Thank you so much for asking me to come back.
Of course, it was an honor. We're so happy that you said yes. And if we have listeners that did not get the opportunity to hear our first session, can you introduce them and tell them why you're so qualified to talk to us about tax?
Yes, of course. So I am an enrolled agent, which means I'm similar to a CPA or an attorney, but I've been directly licensed by the federal government and recognized as a tax expert. And I've been doing this for 25 years now. I know last time we talked, it was almost 25. Well,
Right.
now I'm in my 25th year of handling just tax debt. So
Mhm.
over the years, I've solved thousands of clients' cases, individual, anytime somebody has a tax debt owed to the state for income tax, or as an
Mhm.
employer, income tax at the corporate level, payroll taxes, sales tax. That's my area of expertise. And in
Mhm.
doing that for the last 25 years, I've been able to see where people are with their tax commitment on the personal
Mhm.
and business level and practices and best things you can do to stay a step ahead. And that's what we had talked about reviewing today is, okay, we're approaching the end of 2024. What can
Mhm.
you do now to wrap up everything and be prepared for year end so you can just toss everything to your accountant, your CPA, and say, okay,
Mhm.
I'm done. I'm ready to go. Let's talk. And that's what we're talking about today.
Yes, we are. And if you want to see our previous video, how good she was, the information that she has, we will have that in our show notes. So just click that link and it will take you to that video so that you can learn about what we talked about previously. And then you can also learn why she is so smart and intelligent, why it was so
Uh,
important to bring her back. It's true because there's not a lot of people that hone in on taxes the way that you do. And so because we are here to serve and help people do better with their money, one way to do better with your money, especially if you're a high income earner, is how
mhm.
to manage those taxes.
Yeah. And a lot of it with what we're talking about today comes down to best practices. It's
Mhm.
kind of like going to the dentist. Nobody wants to do it. It may be a little painful, but the more you tend to it, the more
Mhm.
you keep up on those twice a year visits, or some people go 3 or 4 times a year to get their teeth cleaned. It's that
Yeah.
maintenance that keeps
Right.
you ahead of problems. And it's the same thing with the IRS. None of us want to sit down and deal with it, but the more you force yourself to and you get into good habits, the easier it becomes. I can't tell you how many CPAs and accountants I talk to who say, okay, I have the clients who consider me almost like a member of their board,
Mhm.
right? They're talking time, getting my advice on big ticket purchases, how we can best leverage things when it comes to the taxes. And then I have the clients who show up on March 1st and say, okay, my business tax return is due on March 15th. Here's all my records. Tell me what to do. And those are the people who always end up in trouble. They end up in problems. And it's not helping you. It's taking away from being able to be in a power position when it comes to your taxes.
Right, right. And so now that we're coming to the end of the year,
Mhm.
people are geared up for Thanksgiving, Christmas, decorations, Halloween, you name it. And we're in that,
Family.
yes, family. And we're in that time of year where people are
Right.
just not thinking about taxes. Like you don't even have the space in your brain almost really. to
I
think about
know.
taxes because it feels like it's so far away.
I
So
know, but
Morgan,
it's not.
no, it'll be here. Once January comes, it will be here. So now I need you to tell the audience what they need to do to prepare for taxes, even though the holidays are coming up.
Right. And I don't look at Teresa and me as the bad guys. Like, we're just trying to look out for your best interest, right?
Right.
So just keep that in mind as we're walking through the next 15, 20 minutes. First things first, make an appointment to get with your accountant or your CPA now. And the reason I say that is because I can't tell you how many people will go, even meeting with their accountant in January, and say, okay, here's what I did. And they say, wait a minute, you made a decision that hurt you financially. Had we known about it in December, we could
Mhm.
have made some maneuvers to lessen the tax burden. But now that it's after the start of the year, we can't do that. So
Mm,
make an appointment if you have a business, if you have maneuvers that you've made that impact what you will be taxed, get with your accountant or CPA now and say, hey, I just want to go over some of the bigger things, right? Think asset purchases, think investments that you've made, think of liquidations that you've made. Get with them and say, okay, full disclosure, here's everything I've done big ticket wise. What do you think? Should we make any changes now? Because there are sometimes, as self-employed people, you can minimize your tax burden by throwing money into an IRA, right? They
mhm,
will be able to tell you before the end of the year, this is what we should do strategic to help. So as
mhm,
the number one thing I would say is make an appointment now to get with them and just review things from kind of a 30,000 foot view, right? And
mhm.
say, okay, is there something we should do now before the end of the year? So that's the first recommendation that I would make.
Okay, and that's perfect. So if I'm understanding you correctly, if we're going to make any charitable contributions or if we're going to make any changes in our investments, we need to do it before January the 1st. So since you are the expert, I just need to make sure that's correct.
Yes, yes. And some investments you have time going into January,
Mhm.
but I would rather you have that plan made before the end of the year. And I'm not talking getting with your accountant on December 31st, right?
Mhm.
Get with them on the 10th of December. And I don't know when our podcast will be released, but I'm sure it will
Mhm.
be released in plenty. Give you a couple of weeks warning to get with your person before the end of the year.
That's right. And so,
Yeah.
Morgan, it's embarrassing for me to say this, but I'm just going to be transparent. Maybe this will make them listen even more. So,
Okay.
I've been caught up with life, being busy, with the podcast and other things, and I have not put all of my documents, together. So it's like I got to go and get everything together so I can be ready for April the 15th. Can you talk to people, even including me, and let us know how not good it is not to be organized and to keep your documents together so it won't be so stressful to get everything together for tax.
Sure, sure. Let me give you one example, okay, of how not keeping records can hurt you. So, being self employed, there are certain
Mhm,
expenses we can write off, right? One of
mhm,
which is mileage. Okay, this is a big one. And this is one where I see more self employed and entrepreneurs hurt themselves by not keeping a mileage log throughout the year. Every time let's say, for example, you have a PO box. Every time you run to your PO box, that is mileage that you should be keeping track of, right? So I
mhm,
had a client who was self-employed and he was a painter, painted homes, okay?
mhm.
Interior, exterior, just a one-man guy. And every once in a while, he'd hire a contractor to come work. And he had 3 years of missing returns. Okay.
Oh,
So he went through, we helped him go through his bank statements and try to itemize as many of the business expenses as we could. Because what happens, for those of you who may not understand how tax returns work when you're self-employed, you probably get them from your CPA and you say, okay, yeah, how much do I owe? And you sign it and you go on.
mhm,
Every dollar that you earn as a self-employed individual, if you can put an expense against it, it reduces the amount that you are taxed on at the end of the year. Okay. So every business expense, every legitimate business expense, you want to keep track of, because that is $1 less, $10 less, or $500 less that you're going to end up getting taxed income tax on. So that's why it's so important. Every single receipt, I don't care if it is a pack of stamps at the post office for $20 or whatever they are now, keep those receipts, because you want to help yourself. So this painter, right? 3 years of missing returns. Oh, we could, track when he bought paint, things like that. And we said, okay, so let's talk about mileage. And he said, couldn't tell you. Couldn't tell you.
Oh
And
boy.
this gentleman worked year round, on average, 4 days a week, different jobs constantly. So he serviced people that were anywhere from 70 miles away to three miles away. Right. So he had all of this service area. And it's like, oh my gosh, if you did 100 jobs 70 miles away, that's 70 miles there, 70 miles back. That's 140 miles that you drove for that one job. At 55 cents a mile, that's a lot of money. But because we didn't have a log, we couldn't claim any of it. And that all converted to income that he was taxed on at a self-employed rate. So keeping records, I know, again, it's a grind. You don't want to do it. It's so annoying to deal with. But if you don't, it ends up costing money.
And we
So,
don't want that. And so
no.
more, we don't want that. And you just made something like just flash in my brain.
Yeah.
Okay. Uber drivers, DoorDash drivers, all these other people.
Oh,
Can you talk to them a little bit? Because,
yeah,
like, aren't they considered self-employed? And I can
they
guarantee
are.
you, a lot of the younger generation, maybe if they're trying to get out of debt or whatever,
Mhm.
or build up savings, they may be Uber driving. They may be doing the Uber Eats,
Yeah.
DoorDash. Can you
Yeah.
talk to them a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. And anytime you are hustling for yourself, right? You're
Mhm.
considered self-employed.
Mhm.
You have an obligation to keep track of everything that you do, because if not, you can't claim as an expense against that income you're earning, which just hurts you, right?
Mhm.
So let's say, and I don't know about, they call them gig employees, right?
Mhm.
The Uber drivers, the Lyft drivers, Uber Eats,
Mhm.
all of these people. Some of those companies have some pretty advanced technology. Like they'll keep track of your rides and how far you drove and things like that. I would
Mhm.
imagine some of the periphery companies don't.
Mhm.
But as a gig employee, if you keep mints in your back seat for the fares that you're driving, you ought to be writing the mints off. If you put bottles of water back there, keep track of it. Keep your receipt. I bought, 2 cases of water twice a month at Costco. Here's the receipt. You are able to write that off. So just keep that in mind. If you have a Spotify monthly membership, right? And you only use it for your fares when you're driving them around, that is deductible. If you're using it personally and for that, you can't. So every dollar counts, right? And we're trying to
Mhm.
maximize what you are receiving as income and minimize how much you're getting taxed on.
Okay, and so that's a good point. And so because we're
Mhm.
preparing everyone to get them their taxes together for 2020, well, for 2024 tax year, I know you can speak on this. So I know I can ask you this. Oh, you know this.
Ask away.
Yeah. Yeah. So just say we have somebody, this is their first year,
Okay.
maybe doing Uber and Lyft, and it's just a part-time job.
Okay.
Okay. Do you recommend that when they go to their CPA, that they let their CPA maybe run an analysis to see if they're going to owe Uncle Sam some money back?
Absolutely. 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 Because as a self-employed person, so you're considered a contractor for these companies, for Uber, for Lyft, all of this. They're not taking taxes out of the money that they pay you. They're not
Mhm.
covering the expenses. You cover your expenses. So nobody is deducting income tax from the money that you're receiving from these companies ultimately. As
Mhm.
a self-employed person, as a contractor, you are required to make estimated tax payments 4 times a year. You
Mhm.
have April 15th, June 15th, September 15th, and then January 15th of the following year. They call it quarterly. It doesn't follow any quarterly schedule. It's so
Mhm.
easy to get it confused. Okay. But
Yeah.
you are required to, if you are earning money as a gig worker, right, you're required to make deposits at least those 4 times per year on the earnings that you're receiving from these jobs. So we just had one due in September. If you are working for these companies in this capacity, make some kind of deposit by January 15th. You can go on the IRS website, estimated tax payment, and you can follow their steps online to do that. I don't care if, like, let's say you've received $10,000 and you have no idea at this point what you can deduct from that. Oh, big one,
Mhm.
gas
Oh,
receipts,
wow.
right? If you don't keep your mileage, it's the gas. So just know it's either one or the other, but it has to be solely for those efforts. But sorry, I digress. Um, but what I was saying is if you earn $10,000, look at your tax return for last year. See
Okay.
how much your tax rate is compared to your income. And if it's 20% and you receive $10,000 from Uber driving for them this year, you should pay 20% by January 15th if you've made no other deposits this year.
Oh, it give me goosebumps because I
I
cannot
know.
imagine people who may be doing it for the first year and really don't have a clue about taxes, and
Yeah,
they're maybe used to getting some money back, and
right.
they're gonna owe
Right.
Uncle Sam a whole lot of money back. So
I know. And so these are the ways that our education system just in general has failed us,
mhm,
right? Like you go to school, you learn math, subtraction, history, civics. You learn all these things, but they're not teaching you workable skills, right?
right.
They're not
Mhm,
teaching you how to balance a checkbook. Some schools are finally getting into that, but they're
mhm,
not educating people in general about like how our tax system works. Right? Most people, and I know we touched on this the last time we spoke. Most people, when you ask them how much money do you make, they tell you their net paycheck. They don't tell you your,
mhm,
because they equate the money that they receive to that net amount, which is post tax. And that's not really how much we earn. We earn the gross, and then Uncle Sam and your state, and sometimes your
right.
counties and your cities all take a chunk out of it.
Mhm.
Then you go to the grocery store and you pay tax on what you purchase. And then you have a vehicle and you pay tax every time you put a gallon of gas in your car. I mean, my goodness, when you break it down, we get taxed out the wazoo, as I say.
We do,
But
we do
we do, we do. And
everything.
unfortunately, we're not trying to depress everybody out here.
Mhm,
But it's one of those things that we have to be savvy with. You
mhm,
never, and this is actually in the Taxpayer Bill of Rights at the federal level, and most states say it as well. You
mhm.
have a right not to pay tax more than your proportioned and appropriate amount.
Okay.
You should not pay more in tax than you justifiably owe. So, for all of you business owners, this is why we're harping on go through your receipts, keep things organized. Yes, it's a grind, but guess what? Paying more in tax than you rightfully should
Oh.
is worse. You're costing yourself money. So,
Right, and we don't want that, and so, like
no.
right, getting back to these gig jobs, right?
Mhm.
'Cause Morgan, there's so many people that's doing it now,
I
for the
know.
extra money,
And
and so
it's appealing for that, right? It
it is.
really is. It's an easy way to make money. It's work, but it's an
Right,
easy way to make money.
right, and so piggybacking off of that, it's an easy way to make money, and then at the same time, because of the way the tax system is, I guess, regulated or whatever, it can end up being a nightmare if
Mhm.
you end up owing money back. So you've already explained some things that people can do to prepare themselves for 2025 or for the tax season for 2024. Like keep up with the receipts for the gas, the mints, the Spotify. Is
Car
there
washes,
anything? Yeah, car
vacuuming
wash.
your car out. Keep all that. Keep track of all of it.
Right. So the legal way, because in our minds, the people who have a whole bunch of money, they don't have to pay no taxes back.
Oh.
But the middleman does. So
I have cases where I would challenge that thought process, but
right.
let's keep going.
That's what the mentality is. They don't
Oh,
pay
yeah.
tax.
Yeah.
But can you give them maybe a few more recommendations of things that they can do to protect themselves from owing taxes for 2024 that would be legal? Like, can they
Yeah.
deduct their car insurance or car payment or anything like that?
Yeah. So again, this goes back to that mileage log, right?
Mm-hmm.
The mileage log is the key that says for your vehicle, here's how much I used it personally, and here's how
Mm-hmm.
much I used it to earn money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So a lot of times, like let's say at the start of the year, you had 100,000 miles on the vehicle. And at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the year, you had 140,000. And you
Mm-hmm.
had a way to track that you use that vehicle for 25,000 miles.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it creates this algebraic equation. In school, people say, oh, why do I know algebra? Why am I taught it? I never use it. Well, I use it all the time for figuring percentages out like this, right?
Okay.
Started at 100, ended at 140, and then 25,000 miles was used for the business, which means I had 15,000. So we use algebra to figure out, okay, if I had 100,000 at the start of the year and I ended up at 140,000, and we have 25,000 that I've used for business use on my vehicle, that's 15,000 that I use personally. So what is that percentage? And so with that percentage, things like your insurance, like let's say, okay, it works out, and I'm not doing math in my head. So let's just say we
Right.
calculate
Right.
that the vehicle was used 65% for business. Well,
Mm-hmm.
65% of your insurance, then you can write off.
Okay.
See? Yeah. Isn't that a
So that's
beautiful
good.
thing? Keep track of that. Keep track of car wash memberships, right? You want to keep track of everything you do. Next time you buy an air freshener because you use your vehicle mostly for carting people back and forth, keep track of all that. I know
Okay.
it sounds so tedious. I've got a trick for that though. Whenever you buy something, right there, get the receipt printed out and write what you purchased. It'll have the date on it, but a lot of these things are the heat transferred receipts, right? So
Mm-hmm.
after time they fade, but write what you purchased on it and why if you need to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When you and put it in an envelope in your car. At the end of every week, go home and scan it into a receipts envelope on your I mean, we all have computers now, right?
Yes, we do. Mm-hmm.
Mostly. If not, make an envelope on your phone and take a picture of it.
Okay.
Keep them on there, okay? And then what you do is at the end of every month or mid-month, whatever works for you, sit down and itemize all of it. If you For all of you gig workers, you're not going to have a bookkeeper. You're not going to have an accountant at hand all the time, but you still have an obligation to keep these records. Start an Excel spreadsheet on your computer or
That's
grab a notebook, write it all down. Get into the habit of keeping your receipts every week, kind of going through them and reconciling, as we call it,
mm-hmm.
and then have some way of keeping track. Okay, on January 10th, my monthly car wash membership came out. It was $25. Write
Mm-hmm.
it down. And that way you have a full recording of everything you did behind earning that money. And then don't try doing TurboTax. I'm telling you. So
Oh,
for all of you, you get what you pay for.
oh
Okay?
gosh.
You get what you pay for. And the problem with these online tax return preparation things is It's going to ask you questions, but it doesn't know what you're not telling it.
Mhm.
So it's kind of a recipe for disaster. Okay.
Mhm.
So I'm a huge fan of going to somebody who's been doing tax returns for at least 5 years, right? Get somebody who
Mhm.
knows what they're doing, somebody who has their own software. As a last resort, go to H&R Block, Jackson Hewitt, Liberty Tax. At least you're sitting down
Mhm.
and talking to somebody and saying, "Here's everything that I did." Okay?
Okay.
I usually reserve those for workers, it's fine. W-2 employees, it's fine. If you have a business, I would
Mhm.
recommend working with an accountant or a CPA, an EA, somebody who is
Mhm.
more licensed, who has more history of doing this,
Mhm.
who has an ethical obligation tied to doing work.
Okay, that's very, very good advice. And so the next
Yeah.
thing that I just want us to touch on, and I've learned this over the years, but what we have to realize also is that our CPAs, they are human. And so when we
Yes.
take our receipts and everything and just dump it on them, that makes the process worse. Can you give a recommendation as to
Yeah.
how people should present their information to their accountant or the tax office?
Yeah, we call that the shoebox client, right?
Oh, we don't like those. I don't want to be
Uh,
one of those.
and some people, honestly, that is the best that they can do, right?
Okay.
They are keep in mind, as enrolled agents, all of us deal with people of different walks of life, and there is
Mhm.
nothing wrong with that. I
Mhm.
have a client that I'm working with right now. God bless him. He has a transmission shop. And he has said from the very beginning, Morgan, I am not a paperwork guy. Like that's just not my thing. Put a car in front of
Mhm.
me and man, I'll have it running smoother than you've ever had it running.
Mhm.
Give me a few days, right?
Mhm.
That's his area of expertise. And he has said, I'm just going to box some stuff up and ship it to you. And I had unopened notices from 2 years ago that were in there. And we have done an excellent job, and he has been excellent in communicating with me verbally.
Okay.
It's just he's not a paper guy. He's not a
Mhm.
computer guy. And
Mhm.
we've been able to work it out. But
Okay.
here's what I would say. Recognize the type of person you are and put processes in place to counterbalance it, okay?
Yeah.
If you're a gig person, man, it's just that those best practices to just get into the habit of force yourself to do it.
Mhm.
Put a calendar reminder to do it. For people who have a small business, get a bookkeeper. It's going to cost you $200 a month for them to reconcile your records. Think of them kind of as a priest, confess everything to them.
Mhm.
When you
Yes.
spend money, just scan the receipt and send it to them. They'll figure it out, right? But put systems in place to counterbalance your natural tendencies. Okay.
Mhm.
For this transmission guy, we ended up finding a local bookkeeper to go to his shop once a week and say, "Okay, give me your paper." And she sits down and she goes through it all. She goes through his bank account statements, and he loves it. He loves it because it's taken that pressure off of him. So, and then the bookkeeper says, "Okay, here's everything for your annual tax return." The bookkeeper and the CPA communicate with each other. It's wonderful, and it really has alleviated this transmission shop owner from that stress of, I'm not doing something I'm supposed to do, and I know I'm not,
Mhm.
but I hate doing it and I don't want to do it. And it's putting
Mhm.
systems in place to work with your natural tendencies and meeting the obligations that you have. There's always a solution. We just sometimes need to get more creative with it.
I love that. That was a good answer, and I could just visualize him with the box and the paper. So thank you for sharing that good
Yeah.
story. I appreciate
You
that.
bet. You bet. I find stories are more entertaining than just harping, right?
Yes, I love the stories, and so, but now you might have to harp a little bit before we end our discussion. But
Yes, of course.
we have someone that did not file their income taxes for 2023.
Okay.
What's your tax advice?
So, well, let me ask you this. Were they required to?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. First things first, just get the tax return pulled together.
Mhm.
Know what you're dealing with before you make it something bigger than it probably is in your mind. Just
Mhm.
get the tax return done and know that if there's a tax consequence, there's always a way to handle it. Don't let it
Mhm.
keep you up at night. What will keep you up at night is not being proactive, is just letting that problem sit there and fester,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Then it gets
Mhm.
bigger and bigger, and you're waking up in the middle of the night going, "Oh gosh, I just don't know, and I don't want to deal with it. I'm scared." We
Mhm.
call that paralysis, right?
Mhm.
It and it's a very real thing. I've helped a lot of clients in that same position, but just know first thing you got to do is just knuckle down, hold yourself to it, and just get the tax return done. The hard part as a self-employed person, if they are self-employed, is now we're almost all the way through 2024. You
Mhm.
don't have any guidance to give yourself for what you should have been depositing through 2020 related to that, right? So
Mhm.
it at this point you're almost 2 years behind. So get in front of it, be proactive, take the power position with it. Don't hide from it, because the penalties and the interest will just continue to if you owe tax, and it gets bigger than it should, right?
Mhm.
Because you're paralyzed with not wanting to or be afraid of dealing.
So you probably answered my question, but I bet there's someone that's saying, well, should I just wait and file it with my 2024 taxes? What is your recommendation for that? Do they
You
need to do it
could, but
right away?
you're gonna cost yourself more late filing penalties. So
Okay, so
don't do that. The longer you wait to
mhm,
comply with the tax obligations you have, the
mhm.
more penalties they can charge against you. So you're costing yourself money.
And we don't want to cost ourselves
No,
money. So please listen to
no.
Morgan. If you did not file your 2023 taxes, do not wait until April the 15th of 2025.
No,
File your taxes so you don't have that penalty. And the IRS is
absolutely.
not nice when it comes to penalties.
No, no, and let me tell you something too. The way the IRS system is right now, COVID broke the federal government's processing system.
Mhm.
So many of us are still just like, why can't they get their crap together?
Right.
I have a client that I have submitted an amended tax return. It has taken over 2 years, and finally somebody is looking at it. And it's an amended return to remove tax off his account. And I'm just like, why can't you process it? Well, we show it in the system. But in the meantime, we're going to ask to collect on what is on record right now. And I'm like, wait a minute. We filed an amended return that takes all of that off there. Well, until it's on record, we're collecting on the balance that we know is owed right now. It is, and every accountant, CPA, EA across the nation is just beating our heads against the wall with it. They're putting changes in place, they're improving slowly but surely, but I anticipate for the next probably 2, 3 years, we're still going to be dealing with a lot of delays like this. So if you file your 2023 return now, it could be 6 months before it gets processed. So just know that you have time. It's not like you file the return and in a week you're getting a notice saying, you need to pay us." So
Mhm. Mhm.
they record it as received as of the date they get it, because they record the postmark and the date that it comes in. They record that on your tax account as mail is received. And then it gets have time between it being delivered to the IRS and then when they reach out to you about a balance owed.
Okay, perfect. And so the reason why we're here today is get ready for tax year 2024. So if you can summarize what they need to do for 2024, like the important points of getting ready for 2024
Yeah.
tax year, that'll be great.
Okay, first place to start is if you aren't working with a bookkeeper, go through your bank statements. Make sure that everything that is shown as a deposit is truly income that you receive.
Okay.
Self-employed people, there are times where we're dumping personal money in to carry through until another check comes in, and then we're taking that money out. Make sure that is not recorded as income, and make sure that is not recorded as a distribution to you. You're lending money to the business and then you're taking the money back.
Okay.
If you don't make sure those things are categorized properly, you're going to be hit with income tax for money that shouldn't be taxed as income tax. So just keep that in mind. Expenses, go through your bank statements, make sure that things are accurately categorized. A lot of times as self-employed people, we get hit up for donations, right? You put
Mm-hmm.
$50 here, you put $100 here. Make sure those are properly categorized, because if not, when you give money to let's say St. Joseph Catholic School, right, as a
Mm-hmm.
donation, somebody will be like, oh, well, that's a personal expense, and they won't claim it as a business donation. So that's all things that I would recommend that you do. Just start with the bank statements. First,
Okay.
first easiest place, read your bank statement. How many of you
Okay.
do that? Right?
Skim real quick.
What's so funny is we're so busy. We're so dang busy. We have a
Yeah.
thousand things on our plate at any given time, right? How long is your
Mhm.
to-do list right now, Theresa?
I don't even want to think about it. I'm like, I'll scratch one thing off and then add something else. So it never ends.
I know, I know. So here's something that a friend of mine told me, because I found myself constantly behind as well as a business
Mm-hmm.
owner. She said, do yourself this, go on your calendar, and once a week, block 2 hours for nothing but administrative stuff, right?
That's a good
And
idea.
I was like, dang, that is really good. And she
That's a
said,
good
no
idea.
matter what, hold yourself to it. Sit down and do those things that always fall to the bottom of the to-do
Mm-hmm.
list. They
Mm-hmm.
sometimes don't get carried over. She said, but once a week, 2 hours, you can do that. And then you free up so much other time that you throughout the week tending to those things. I was like, gosh, that is brilliant. I love that. And it has helped me stay on
Mm-hmm.
track. I'm kind of type A. I'm pretty anal about stuff.
Uh-huh.
But just yeah, maybe Monday afternoon, block off
Right.
2 hours and just say, okay, I'm putting my phone on do not disturb.
Right.
I'm closing my email, because boy, the
Yes.
email for some reason, that's the one that it pops up and I'm like, oh, really quick, I'll handle this. And then
Yeah.
next thing I know, it's an hour later and I've lost
Right.
that productive time. But
Right.
yeah, block out time. Here's the thing, it's so much easier to remember what you did last week versus in December trying to remember what the heck you did in February, right?
Right. Right.
So, yeah, again, best practices. But now that we're at the end of the year, if you haven't done it throughout the year, this is kind of a quick way to do it. Go through the bank statements, read them, see what it was, see if you can track stuff. If you have a question, highlight it and come back to it later.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I would do is go through your receipts that you've saved throughout the year. If you
Okay.
haven't scanned them, go buy yourself a $100 scanner at Office Depot or
Mm-hmm.
on Amazon. They make great ones, and you can just attach it to your computer and just put the receipts
Right.
in and then put them in folders.
That's a good
That
idea.
that is that is something where you can say to your accountant, okay, I've got 100 receipts here for materials I bought at Home Depot. What do you
Mm-hmm.
want? And your accountant will probably say, well, if you can go through and make a spreadsheet summarizing how much and what date, keep the receipts, but just give me that spreadsheet. It's going to prevent that shoebox moment with your
Mm-hmm.
accountant, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
but you're going to find as you work through these things, you start creating this
Mm-hmm.
power position, because all of us can feel that overwhelm with, oh my gosh, I have 500 documents I need to get to my accountant. When you start really parceling it together, you're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, this isn't that bad. Oh, cool. Look at this. I'm in charge of my world. And it
Right.
creates this I don't know, this peace with dealing with all of it. And it's almost inspiring, like, oh, well, it wasn't that bad. It kind of sucked having to pull it all together at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to start working on this weekly, because look at how
Love
easy
it.
this was once I sat down and forced myself to do it. The other thing is, talk to your accountant, talk to your CPA. They saw what you did last year,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll be able to say, okay, Theresa, specifically for your financial situation, here's what I want you to kind of gather together, right? And
Mm-hmm.
he or she will be able to give you some pointed guidance related to your financial condition and how you report every year.
Okay, that is so good. And Morgan, in our conversation earlier, you made a very big point. Listeners, Morgan said, do not wait until December the 31st to go see your accountant.
No,
So
no.
please at least take that piece of advice because you could have lost out on something major.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Again, the name of the game is helping you not be taxed as much as possible,
Hmm.
right? So we touched earlier on these big corporate guys, right? A couple
Hmm.
of them come to mind, and people say, "Oh, they don't pay any tax." Well, they pay
Uh-huh.
taxes in other ways, right? But
Hmm.
they have a team of
Hmm.
accountants looking out for them. And they say, okay, how do we leverage every move we make to
Hmm.
minimize the tax consequence?
Hmm.
I know Elon Musk must probably have 50 accountants who work for him, 50
Oh gosh,
CPAs
yes.
who do nothing but look at strategy, right?
Hmm.
We don't have that. We have to advocate for ourselves. Thankfully, we're not dealing with the headache that they're constantly dealing with.
Right.
But when you think about all of the businesses that these people have, right, and all the working
Mhm.
parts, as a business, when you have employees, you have to match the Social Security and Medicare.
That's right.
You're paying tax, right?
Mhm.
If you're trying to implement a tax strategy where you create a foundation to funnel money to it to minimize a tax consequence, that money is still not, they're not keeping it, right? That
Right.
money is going to
Okay.
benefit something else.
Right.
So it's not that they pay less in taxes, it's just it's not traditional income tax. It goes out other
Mhm.
ways. So
Right.
it's so funny. I love when people like to vilify the
Mhm.
big money makers. I'm like, do you know how much they contribute all over the place?
Right. But see, that's the
So
part that doesn't get told.
right, right.
Mhm.
I know. And we all like a villain, right? I mean, we
Mhm.
go to superhero movies because the villains are entertaining.
Right.
Same thing when it comes to money and finance and corporate, and all of the things that make us somehow feel a little better and a little more sanctimonious in our work.
Yes. Yes. Powerful, powerful. Well, Morgan, I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
want to thank you so much for being here.
You bet.
Listeners, Morgan is an expert in her area. Like, even if you owe Uncle Sam money, you're terrified, she can help you with this. So, at this point, Morgan, I want you to tell everyone how they can find you.
Yes, go online, look up my name, Morgan Q. Anderson, EA. You'll find me
Mhm.
on LinkedIn, Facebook. Our website is Golden Lion Tax Solutions. I know, Theresa, you'll have that in the call notes.
Mhm.
The other thing is, we have a webinar that is going live that if you owe, let's say you owe $15,000 on your tax return and you don't know what to do, this webinar is going to walk you through how to handle it. So, Theresa, I'll make sure and get you a code and the website for it.
See.
But the worst thing you can do for yourself is not take some kind of action. Call
Okay.
me if you want. My direct phone number is on our website. Call me and say, hey, I heard you on Theresa and Johnny's show. Can I walk a situation past you? This is what I do. My passion is helping people. And, I will talk to anybody, as you can tell. I'll talk all day long if you let
I
me.
can too.
That's why we get along so well.
Yes.
That
And then,
is.
Morgan, don't you have a book?
Oh, I
Oh.
do. Funny you bring that up. No, actually, do
Mhm.
you know, I just found out you're the first person I'm disclosing this to. I won the Platinum Award for the Colorado Independent Publishers Association for my book. So, hey,
Congratulations. Can you please
thank
tell them the
you.
name of the book, where they can find it?
Yes. Okay, here catchy. Okay, are you ready? It's
We're ready.
tax debt rule number 1. There's always a solution, and you can find it on Amazon.
Good, good. Well, Morgan, thank you so much. Listeners, please, if you need help with IRS, if you need help with your 2023, 2024 taxes, we completely
Yep.
trust Morgan. She's an
Oh,
expert, she's kind, and we know that you can trust her. The information is in the show notes. If you need help, reach out and do not wait until December the 31st to see your accountant. And gig workers, don't get yourself in a situation where you're going to owe money back. Listen to what Morgan has said. Save your receipts and write off everything that you can write off.
Every single penny.
Every single penny. Thank you again so much for joining Bartelle's Money Talk, and we will see you again in 2025.
Thank you, Theresa.